The Michael Berry Show.
It was big donors who wanted Ken Paxton out of the way for the very reason we now see playing out. Ken Paxton is running against John Cornyn, and he's leading in the polls. But the breakout star was a fellow named Mitch Little, who was a lawyer living in a small town, smart as he could be, who was now exposed to a statewide audience that were paying attention. And he ends up running for state rep himself and joins this new breed of reformers in Austin, trying to take back the state house, not from Democrats, but from the Republican swamp that has run us off a cliff. He is not one for hyperbole, so when I read something this morning that he posted last night, God is my witness, before this session is over, I'm going to make certain that every grassroots Republican in this state understands how House leadership made a deal with the Democrats to sell us down the river Thursday night. Well, State Representative Mitch Little, let's get started on that effort. Let's tell quite a few of them right now.
Yeah, good morning, Czar. I wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes. So the conservatives in the Texas House the true conservatives, I'll probably number about 24. We spent weeks preparing different amendments to the budget, trying to deliver property tax relief back to the voters. And one of the sources, we had several tactics to do that. One, we were going to take money out of the Lottery Commission. We were going to take money out of the Enterprise Fund. We were going to take money in the budget out of several different sources, including unexpected balances that a number of agencies had. So for your listeners who may not be aware of this, we appropriate money and these state agencies don't spend it all, and it just accrues over time. And it's literally billions of dollars that's just sitting there in accounts waiting to be spent. Some of them are fund balances, but a lot of them are not. So we're putting amendments together to the budget as it was going to come to the House floor. Got them all ready to go. And then we find out from the leadership team that they're going to sweep. They're going to ask for a vote to suspend the rules to sweep most of our amendments to Article 11. Article 11 is like the graveyard in the budget. So if amendments end up in Article 11, it's basically like the circular file. So the House Republican leadership, combined with the Democrats, obtained over 100 votes to sweep most of our amendments to Article 11. We still had several good ones left, including for property tax relief. I was carrying one to give an increase to salaries for the Office of the Attorney General and to restore the Attorney General's back pay from the impeachment. Well, right out of the gate, in about 30 seconds, Mary Gonzalez, a Democrat who is you remember we don't have Democrat committee chairs anymore. Well, she's in charge of the subcommittee of the budget on Article 1. She offers an amendment to her own amendment that strips out from the budget all of the governor's enterprise fund, all of his movie fund, his movie subsidies, and defunds the lottery. And you're like, why would a Democrat do that? Because Mary Gonzalez, a Democrat, got together with Greg Bonin, a Republican out of Galveston, who runs the budget, to remove all the sources for our amendments. So just a little bit of inside baseball. Under the House rules, when you want to move money to something else like property tax relief, you have to take it from a source. So what Mary Gonzalez did in working with Greg Bonin is she removed all the sources for our put and takes under the budget. So we didn't have money to grab to move over to property tax relief anymore. She just completely took it out of the budget. She and Greg Bonin did that together, and they had 100 votes in the Texas House, including from a lot of Republicans who represent your listeners who weren't paying attention.
So I do this silly little thing on Facebook called an Ask Me Anything. And people have the opportunity to ask you a question, and you give an immediate answer to that. And at least one person, maybe more, asked if we'll see property tax relief in the state of Texas, or will we ever eliminate? And I said, absolutely not. And the reason is it's not the Democrats. They don't want it. But the Republican leadership doesn't want to do away with this honey hole, this huge pit of money, which they give out to the people who then keep them in office. It's very frustrating. I can't imagine. I served on Houston City Council, and I would be frustrated going in every day knowing that I was in the minority and that I couldn't stop anything from happening. All I could do was raise a stink about it, and that kind of pressure would help me in some cases to mold an issue here or there. But I could never actually win. I didn't have the Trump executive authority. I can't imagine what it's like to go in there every day knowing that your real problem is not the Democrats, it's the Republican leadership they control, and the consultants, lobbyists, operatives who are churning out material to tell you what a great job they're doing and what a good Republican, and they love Jesus and they love America and they wear a flag pin and July 4th is a sacred holiday to them. And all the while they're selling us down the river. I can't imagine how awful that is every day to have to do that and realize you can't convince people how bad they are.
So if there are 150 members, Michael, in the Texas House, there are 100. If you just sorted them along the ideological spectrum, the 100 people in the middle are indistinguishable from one another. They are tax and spend Republicans. They are tax and spend Democrats. And so you said, "Oh, we'll never eliminate property tax." Well, you're partially right. There are House priority bills brought by the leadership team to eliminate forms of property tax for certain of their special interests and vendors. So over the last 3 weeks, we had a vote on a bill and actually passed a bill out of the House to exempt exotic game animals from sales tax. We had a vote in the House we're going to have a vote in the House today to exempt animal feed inventory from business personal property tax. So there are special interests that are getting their needs serviced. There are special interests that are getting their needs serviced, while regular Texans are essentially getting no meaningful property tax relief. And you're right that Republicans and Democrats are both drunk on your money. There's no way they're ever going to push away from the bar. The only thing that you can do is unelect them and try to start over. But they're not going to push away from the bar.
And that means defeating them in Republican primaries, because by November you don't want a Democrat in. The time to do that is a year from now in that primary. The question on the eliminating the sales tax on the sale of exotic animals, I have to I can't imagine that affects very many people. We could probably run to ground who was behind that base and then who carried it and what kind of internal relationship. Mitch, you reposted something that Michael Quinn Sullivan put up that said, new Wall Street Journal article reveals that children in Texas were used as part of a Texas Lottery Commission approved scheme in 2023 to steal the largest jackpot in state history. A massive violation of state law, apparently with the knowledge of the lottery vendor officials. So we keep hearing there was a scandal at the lottery. Can you explain what happened there?
Yeah, they were using, my understanding is there was somebody in, some foreign citizen who was buying literally millions of dollars worth of lottery tickets, which you're not supposed to be able to do. He was using runners or remote purchase lottery services to obtain them, which is supposed to be impermissible and against the law. The lottery services aren't supposed to be doing that, but they're doing it anyway. My understanding is that the lottery commissioner has possibly gone to Mexico and is unavailable for comment. It appears to be totally rife with corruption. This isn't what I think the Texas taxpayers bargained for when they allowed it to be created. Certainly hasn't achieved the desired end of helping fund our public schools. My understanding is it also is supposed to fund veterans organizations, which it in part does. But man, government is not good at running and monitoring systems like this. They're not qualified. They're not competent to do it. And yet we've done it year after year after year. Well, we need to get out of the lottery business altogether, Michael.
We can't have gambling in Texas because it violates God's ordinances and leads to corruption. Unless the state handles it, in which case it's the most corrupt form of gambling possible. So help me understand how the scheme works. So let's say there's a $100 million uh, lottery. What do you call it? The prize that's up for grabs.
Yeah.
Is it the case that keeps rolling? Is he buying up all the tickets because there's only going to be 10 million this round, and so the real profit is the earlier rounds that didn't have a winner? How does that work? Because if you spend millions of dollars, how do you even know you're getting the right ticket?
I think it's pure mathematics. You're buying every possible permutation of the successful outcome.
Okay, so you don't do that on the first round. You do it after it builds, and there are fewer tickets sold for that round or dollars sold than there are the overall prize. It's pretty clever. I saw a thing Dan Patrick did. It was his own video. He made it himself. He went over to the place, and he showed the front of the place was like a cell phone store, and the back of the place was a lottery store or vice versa. And apparently, the way the license works, you're not supposed to be able to do that. But it seemed to suggest that that was one of the violators, was that one. And I guess that's who won it.
It's certainly the source of the individual ticket, but not the only participant in the scheme. And what really bothers me, and I think should bother your listeners, is we know all this is going on. There's no dispute about it. There's no dispute that the environment is corrupt, and yet the discussion in the legislature is about reforming it, not removing it. Like, it's just this is how addicted government is to your money, and making sure that it gets to the right government program or assist these people and their special interests. This is not what most people think they're signing up for when they run for office.
You're a student of Texas political history. I don't know if you remember the name Ben Barnes.
Sure.
Ben Barnes was in the 60s and early 70s on a projection to be president. He was the guy. He knew everybody. He was the golden child. He was the Democrat star. And he knew from his from late teen and early 20s years, somehow Ben Barnes ended up with some sort of controlling interest, either officially or unofficially, in the lottery, and got into some pretty serious problems that he was in some way stealing money or steering money. The whole thing is an absolute and utter scam. It's an utter scam, and I think it probably always has been. When we get back to the issue of property taxes, and I'm telling you something I know you've heard 100 times, but I just want to say it so people hear me say it, because I think it feels better to know that somebody cares or that people realize. The number one issue I hear from people that I talk to face, if I'm at a cocktail party or wherever else, is property taxes. And it is across the board what property taxes have done, how they have shot up, and it never ends. And so people will say things like, I paid off all my debts and I retired, and then all of a sudden there's this creeping property. I have to have a job to pay my property taxes to the state for a house that I own. And there's seemingly no end in sight. And I don't get the sense that Republicans in Austin give a damn, that they will occasionally pay lip service to it. But by and large, it is not on the agenda at all. Is that fair to say?
Here's what everybody who listens to your show needs to understand. You are going to see state representatives, and I'm aware of this because I'm actually getting copies of these talking points. The Republicans who really do not care about meaningful property tax relief are going to be sending out messaging to you saying they just passed a budget that secures $51 billion in property tax relief. Here's the thing. It's a complete lie. It's an absolute fabrication. And here's what they're doing. They're calculating cumulatively all the money that has been contributed to property tax relief ever over time that is now built into the budget and is permanent unless you remove it. And then they're doubling it for the biennium. Are you tracking with me? So the sales pitch back home to you is, yes, I know you're getting a property tax bill that doesn't seem to be going down, but don't believe the evidence of your eyes and ears. Listen to me, your duly elected state representative, and believe that we have truly worked on solving the problem super hard.
Well,
It's truly a corrupt environment
of Republicans. I mean, the Democrats are who they are. The problem is that they control the Republican Party. When Dustin Burrows was chosen as Drunk Dade's replacement, who was basically just Drunk Dade all over again, what was the point of throwing Drunk Dade out if you're just going to replace him with Dustin Burrows? But once that happened, the state reps in Houston that voted there were more Democrats than Republicans in this thing. They voted with the Democrats to put the Democrats' choice in as Speaker.
The Michael Berry Show.